Welcome, T-Birds and other listeners from around the world, to the Career Cafe podcast. I am your host, Bobby Hodge, and I'm here with my co-host, Karl Rostron, Assistant Director of the Career Center at SUU. And we're here today with Sierra Johns. She is a recruiter at Brian Head. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Really quick, I just want to give a little bit of a rundown about your career journey. Let me know if things are wrong. This is just what I pulled from your LinkedIn. So this is the test, is if your LinkedIn is updated. Graduated from SUU in 2022 with a bachelor's degree, having an emphasis in outdoor recreation. You were a park ranger aide at Gunlock State Park, an arts admin assistant here at SUU, an interpretive guide at Cedar Breaks National Monument, and now a human resource clerk at Brian Head.
Yes, that's correct.
Sounds about right?
Yeah.
Perfect. You passed the test.
Yes.
Okay, so I gave a little bit of bullet points. Why don't you tell us a little bit just about your career journey, kind of expound on all that?
Yeah, so I started at Gunlock State Park when I was going to SUU here as part of a practicum. I was taking a class and I was introduced to the manager of Gunlock at the time, and he offered me a job for the summer. And then I came back to SUU for the school year, and I got a job at Cedar Breaks National Monument through SUU's IIC program. And I worked there until I graduated from college, and then, spent a summer just doing whatever. And then I applied for a job at Brian Head, and now I'm there.
Awesome. And you like it?
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah,
So,
I love it.
Perfect. Yeah, we love the IIC program. We do a career fair in the spring with them where they bring in all of the national parks, national monuments, state parks, and they recruit for all their seasonal positions and
Oh,
their
that's
full-time
awesome.
positions. So we have a good relationship with IIC. They're awesome.
But was that your dream position when you started college? I know you kind of took some other classes, had some other interests in college too, music and theater, and which seems like kind of a far stretch from working in the national parks. So how did that come together?
Well, it kind of relates because I learned while working at Cedar Breaks that a lot of my acting classes and the acting experience I got working in theater actually translated well with interp at like Cedar Breaks. You're telling stories and stuff, so it actually works really well together.
So we get a little Maria out in the mountains doing the Sound of Music.
Oh yeah,
As you're out there in the woods. Yeah, I'm up for that. I'll come up and we'll listen.
I love Cedar Breaks National Monument. When I was 12 years old, I went up there and became a junior ranger with like the little plastic park ranger badge.
Yeah.
I don't know if you did anything with that at all, but
Well, when I was working at Cedar Breaks, we actually worked on like restructuring the entire Junior Ranger book. So I actually spent a part of my time working there was researching just Junior Ranger books at other national parks throughout the country. So
dang it. So I'm probably out of date on my certification.
We'll have to go up and recertify. Is there a
to know.
Cliff Notes version?
well, this way it's a shorter, smaller book so that when you do it, it's kind of like you can rip out a page like it's a passport and be like, oh.
All right.
Oh, okay. So I'm overqualified as a junior
I'm all
ranger.
for the shorter, smaller
There we
books.
go. Okay. So quick little question about Brian Head now, because that's where you're working at. What is your favorite season to work there and why? You're there full time. Most employees are there, seasonally. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's benefits to both. During the summer, we are a mountain bike park, so we have a lot of like music festivals and celebrations and stuff. And then during the winter, we are a ski and snowboard park. I would say that my favorite season is probably the winter, though. I enjoy snowboarding a little bit more than mountain biking.
That's fair. It's a little bit softer when you fall.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to know about your career story a little bit more. So you're at Brian Head now. How did you get started there? Or like what led you to Brian Head?
Well, I actually applied for a completely different job at Brian Head. I applied to work in our mountain operations department as kind of like an assistant to the director. And I interviewed, and the person who interviewed me, actually, they reached out to me and was like, hey, I would actually like to interview you for this position in HR. And I was like, yeah, why not? And I interviewed, and I got the job, and I've been there ever since.
That's awesome. How long ago was that?
I started in 2022.
2022.
So, yeah.
About 3 years there. That's awesome. That's great. So the topic of today's podcast, you actually pitched to us, which we loved when you emailed it to us. Karl sent it over to me, and I was like, that sounds better than anything I could have thought of. So stepping stones, why seasonal work can help you build your career. Give us a little bit of your thoughts on that. When you pitched it to us, what were you envisioning?
So a lot of people that come to Brian Head Resort and work there, it's just a seasonal job because a lot of our work is just seasonal work. But even if you're just there for a season, you're still gaining valuable experience and, skills that you can translate into any other career. It doesn't even need to be in the ski industry. You can translate it into insurance or working as a firefighter, so.
Like, what would you say are some of those skills that you see people coming out of Brian Head after a season having that maybe they didn't have before?
You get to gain valuable experience in customer service, whether that's handling phone calls, emails, an angry guest, so most of our jobs, you're going to be able to get that valuable customer service experience. And then depending on what you're interested in or what department you're working in, you can get experience in food and bev or retail or skiing and snowboarding. You can come work for us as a ski instructor. You don't even know how to. We'll teach you to ski. So
Perfect.
And that is kind of part of the overall college experience. It's trying things out. It's trying new things. It's gaining experience. So much about what we learn about careers growing up is what we either, in my day, it was on the 3 channels on the TV, but now you got YouTube and all of the other social media stuff. And sadly, that's not always accurate. And so you get to try stuff out, kind of a safe environment, 3 or 6 months. Maybe you love it, maybe you don't. Either way, you've learned something valuable. And like Shara said, you gained some skills along the way as well. And so it's the stepping stones, like you mentioned. It could be a stepping stone to a career. It could also be a stepping stone just for you as a person. I mean, you find out a lot about yourself, because you're put in a totally different situation than you've ever been in before. Different skills needed. You have to apply different things. And so you find out a lot about yourself personally. So it's a stepping stone career-wise, a stepping stone personality-wise, and even educationally. You may decide that, theater is a love, but I could make a living better, in the mountains doing something at a ski resort. And so it can help formulate a lot of career choices as well.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know how you couldn't love, working up in the mountains every single day.
yeah, I love it.
Yeah. One thing that I think that when people hear seasonal jobs, or even when we talk about it, it's like I stumbled into this job. It wasn't really what my degree was, but it's good and it pays the bills. And really, people are dying to work in the outdoor industry. It's one of those things that whether you're doing HR or finance, everything's a little bit more fun when you're at a company that focuses on getting people outside. It's a little bit more fun to focus on HR when you're hiring lifties instead of accountants. It's just, the outdoor industry is great. And so while you might have maybe, stumbled into it through some of your jobs and through some of your classes in IIC, there really are people that from day one, they're like, I'm going to be a Forest Service Ranger, or I'm going to work up at Brian Head and be an operations manager, something like that. So it is something that, this isn't just something that happens by accident. A lot of people want to be doing this, and you're lucky enough to be doing it every day.
Yeah.
This is where I get to disagree with Bobby. So, that's true. I won't say what you said isn't, but are all the jobs at Brian Head outside?
No.
Are all of them working in the forest? Are all of them strapping on boots every morning and hiking? And I think that's one of the misrepresentations or stereotypes that you can crush, doing some of these summer jobs and working for companies that you may not even have given 2 cents to before, is because you find out that these companies do so many different things that you never even knew about. And so that I can have a career working for Brian Head and never go outside.
That's fair.
I think we fall in love with the part of the job we want. An accountant can say, man, I love working at Brian Head. I get to look out my window and see nature and don't have to touch it. And for me and you, we want to touch it.
Yep.
But part of all this is, take a company like Coca-Cola, and people look at it and say, well, I don't want to fill bottles with brown syrup, and I don't want to put cans on a shelf, so I don't want to work for Coke. And yet they have everything in the world you can imagine, from accountants to HR to truck drivers to mechanics. Just like Brian had, you can be a mechanic, you can work on the ski lift, you can do accounting, you can do HR. And so I think part of this whole experience is breaking down either the myths of what we think jobs are or companies do, and also just expanding our minds to really learn what's out there. Things that we never thought of before, that that can exist within each company. And so I may want to be an accountant. That's all I want to be, but I don't need to look in accounting firms only to become an accountant. And so part of this exploration process is, like you said, the stepping stones of finding out who we are, and also what the companies are, finding out about them, the different things they have to offer. And, that's kind of the great experiment of college is getting to go through all these processes.
That's a good point. A lot of students, I think, that come to like our career fairs, they walk in and they say, well, I want to work in HR. And then they see Intermountain Health and they go, well, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a healthcare professional. Yeah. It's like every company's going to need HR for the most part. Mm-hmm. You might as well go up and talk to people. Yeah. So our students really, they should look into more of those companies. And, maybe they work for Brian Head and never work outside. But perfect. Well, I want to ask you a couple questions about your topic then. So have you seen anybody turn a seasonal job into that stepping stone and eventually turn into a full-time position or a long-term position at Brian Head?
I see it all the time. When I first started out at Brian Head in HR, it was actually just a seasonal position. And then a few months into it, I was actually offered a position to work there full-time year-round. I have a friend who worked at Brian Head. They were just looking for a job during the winter because they didn't have a job. And I was like, well, we're hiring for a ski patrol dispatcher. And so she applied, and eventually with that, because she got that dispatch experience, she was able to go and get a seasonal job working for a Forest Service doing wildland firefighting as a dispatcher. And then she was eventually offered a permanent position working for the Forest Service. And she's continually growing her professional, world. And she's currently working on becoming an actual firefighter for wildland. But she wanted to actually work for ecology and working with flowers and trees and stuff like that, and not necessarily working with people and helping out in that aspect.
That's awesome. And she's going to be a firefighter, you said?
Yeah, definitely. She recently just passed her level 2 wildland firefighting qual.
Awesome. So no better way to help flowers and trees than to stop them from burning down. So, okay. Really quick, I wanted to just do this little segment where we talk about our favorite seasonal jobs that we've ever had. I think most people, once they get into their career, they've at least had one. I'll let you go first.
My favorite seasonal job I ever had was working at Gunlock State Park. It was, it's what every kid wants during college. It's a fun job that pays you. I was able to go fishing whenever I wanted to. I could go kayaking, paddleboarding whenever I wanted to. I could put all my camping gear in a kayak and paddle all the way across the lake and camp where you technically shouldn't be camping. So it was a really great experience, and I loved every aspect of it. And it made me realize that I wanted to work in the outdoor world.
Awesome. Karl?
Boy, I grew up in a very small little town, and there were not a lot of opportunities. Summer jobs consisted of you were hauling hay or herding sheep or turkeys, or working, as I did, in a turkey processing plant. And I think that was the catalyst to change my career goals in life. I decided I didn't want to work on a farm my whole life. I didn't want to play with dead turkeys in a processing plant my whole life. No one in my family had gone to college. I was first generation. That wasn't even on my radar. It just wasn't in my field of vision, my thoughts. And those summer jobs can help me realize that if I wanted a different career path in life, that I had to kind of make that happen. I had to figure out the college thing. And, being the first one to go through it, I had no clue, how to do it. But that non-favorite summer job really was an inspiration and a catalyst to help me figure out there's got to be a better thing out there for me somewhere.
Yeah. I don't know how many long weekends I had with my dad digging post holes for fences that were a real motivation when I was halfway through that 18 credit semester where I'm going, it could be worse than studying right now. Yep. And so the bad seasonal jobs or the tough jobs are just as important as every other job that you have. So my favorite seasonal job, summer after I graduated high school, I got to be a river guide on the Salmon River up in Idaho. And that was the coolest summer, hardest summer of my life. They were 8-day trips where we'd put in at one part of the river, and then about 100 miles later, we would take out. But for 8 days, we were just without cell phones, without anything. If your boat flipped, it was like, figure it out. There's not really anybody there to save you. And I learned a lot about myself, learned that I loved the outdoors, and got a lot of experiences that, now that I'm in my career, now that I'm graduated from college, it's hard to, say, well, I'm going to just pack up for 3 months and leave everything and go be a river guide. Yeah. And so I think my takeaway when talking about stepping stones and seasonal jobs, my takeaway for students would be just take advantage of them while you can, because life gets really busy really, really quick. And there's not going to be those winters where you can just go ski, go work and ski all winter long. Eventually you're going to have kids and a family and a full-time job that demand more of you than what you can do when you're a freshman. So that would be my takeaway. Sierra, I want to ask you, for our students, let's switch into maybe away from the outdoor aspect and more to the recruiter aspect, because you're dealing with a lot of resumes, dealing with interviews. Tell us a little bit about maybe some horror stories or some bad experiences you've had with either interviews, resumes. What are you looking for? What are you definitely not looking for?
Yeah.
Take it away.
So when I'm interviewing, or just, even if it's just a quick call, being like, hey, how are you? Introducing myself. I'm looking for somebody who can hold a conversation. I've had phone calls where this one dude, he was only answering me yes, no, and it's like, you couldn't hold a conversation. And it's like, okay, but if you can't hold a conversation with me, how are you going to be able to hold a conversation with a guest? I'm always looking for somebody who can hold a conversation. When it comes to resumes and stuff, I'm looking for a resume that tells me that you can do this job. I don't need 20 pages with every single skill listed out. I need you to give me like 1-2 pages of a resume that's, hey, this is what I have done. This is what I can do. You can take keywords from our job descriptions and put that into your resume and stuff to really stand out there.
Karl, what are your thoughts on resumes? At least you've dealt with them more than me.
Yeah, years and years and years of doing nothing but reading resumes. And a resume is a tool. A resume is a tool to get you to an interview. And whether you're writing that resume, or today we've got computer programs and AI to write resumes for us, but it's all just a tool to get you to talk one-on-one with another human being to decide if you're a fit for that job. Do you have the skills necessary to do it? And are you personality-wise and culturally a fit for that company? Are you going to be happy? Because the interview portion is as much for you as the company. You want to make sure you fit too. But, in my time, I think by far the most irritating thing to me when I would get a resume is that it was just so generic. There wasn't anything specific to what I was doing. Lots of times in the cover letter, they even got the company name wrong. The old adage is getting a job is a job. And I knew a lot of people that would send out, 100 resumes a week and would be so frustrated that they weren't hearing back from anybody. And it's because they didn't tailor the resume to get a job. 3 well-written resumes that look at the job description and say, this is how I can meet your needs. This is how I can help you be successful. As a hiring manager, I want to hire somebody that's going to make me look good. That's going to make my job easier, that I'm not going to have to babysit. And so any way I can demonstrate on paper those skills that I bring, tangible and intangible, to help make that company more successful, the more likely I'm going to be to get that interview, and then be able to articulate in person, this is how I can make your job easier. This is how I can make your life easier. This is how I fit in. These are the skills that I've used to affect change. It's not where I sat. It's not my job title that matters. It's what can I bring to you to help you be successful, to help your company reach your goals. And no matter whether it's AI or computer programs, eventually it's me talking to you. And there's all kinds of tips and tricks on how to write resumes and do it the right way. But the important thing to me and the important thing to you may be totally different. And so eventually you're going to have to talk to that human being and sell yourself. So to me, the key is to be genuine. Be you. Don't try to be what this program or that self-help book tells you to be. Be you, sell yourself to the best of your ability. And if you're not a fit, you're not a fit. and you're going to be happier because you're going to find some place where you do, and they're going to be happier. And so don't ever sell yourself out or sell yourself short. Be confident in who you are, be proud of who you are and what you bring to the table, and be confident enough to wow Sierra when she makes that phone call. And that's kind of the key. And we don't learn those skills very well. There's not a class on that. No matter what major we're in, there's not a class on that. And so these summer jobs, these temporary jobs, are a way for us to kind of develop that confidence, are kind of a way for us to explore new skills and abilities, to learn how to talk to a boss. You get a chance for 6 months to learn how to kind of negotiate a little bit, to talk to a boss, to take direction, to give some feedback, and learn when not to. And so those are all skills that are going to be so valuable to you as you move through that career chain in life. And you get to learn them in kind of a safe place. You can leave in 6 months, no harm, no foul, and move on. But you take the skill with you. You take that knowledge base with you as you move on. So, I mean, a summer seasonal temp job internship is just so important for just a myriad of reasons.
That's awesome. That was a lot. That was a lot of knowledge you just dropped on us.
That was a lot of words.
That was a lot of words.
There's a lot of words. Yes, thank you.
No, I think that's really important. I think that a lot of students, it's freaky when you get that first job. We had a friend that just got a new job, and from the very beginning, they're going, well, what if I hate this job, and what if I have to leave? Yeah. And the nice thing about seasonal jobs is, not saying you're going to hate Brian Head, but if it's not your cup of tea, okay, cool. You can leave in like 12 weeks. The season isn't that long.
When you're developing an exit plan before you started,
yeah,
it's a little rough. But again, it's that safe place, safe environment. And if you hate it, it's an easy out. You've learned something, and it's not ideal. I mean, of course, you've invested time and money as a manager and hiring this person and training into them. But again, you would rather have somebody learn early on that they're not a fit and be able to move on than to invest more and more into them and just delay the inevitable. So
yeah. So obviously, as a recruiter, you're trying not to get a lot of those people that are just going to be there for one season and maybe disappear. Like, those happen, but your goal would obviously be people coming back and returning and loving their jobs. Kind of switching gears from like outdoor to HR. What is your perfect applicant when SUU students are coming to you and they're, trying to get a job at Brian Head? What are you looking for? What do you want to see out of them?
What we're looking for is somebody who likes being outside or just enjoys the mountain environment. You don't necessarily want to spend your entire day outside in the weather, like the elements, because we have positions inside. But if you like the mountain environment, that's great. That's what we're looking for. If your culture or values align with our culture and our values that we have at Brian, that's what we want. We don't necessarily want, we're not necessarily going to go with the applicant that has all of this experience if their values don't align with ours. We want somebody who matches and aligns with Brian Head.
So talk about values.
Some of our values are, first off, at Brian Head, our number one thing is the freedom to ski. We want to give people, like staff, guests, the freedom to ski, So we're going to be open even if it's going to snow 12 inches that day, because we want to give people the opportunity to ski. Something that matters to a lot is family. Family is very important to us here at Brian Head, and that's a big value that we have, So it's okay if you need a day off to go and do some family stuff. Okay. We are going to try our best to work with that because family is important to us. So
that's awesome. Yeah, Brian Head sounds like a great place. We were talking earlier about that you guys are pretty good with student schedules. So it sounds like you value education.
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of our employees at Brian Head are actually SUU students itself. We're very flexible with working with your schedule, even if you can only work on weekends. That's something that a lot of our managers are definitely open to.
That's perfect. Yeah, there's always a place for that one worker that it's I can only work Wednesday nights, but when I'm there, I will work the heck out of a Wednesday night. So that's great. For students that are maybe wanting to grow at Brian Head, maybe get into a position like yours, what are some of those entry-level positions that they can be focusing on that could translate into a full-time career?
So really pretty much any of our jobs at Brian Head can transfer into a full-time position, you know. We have a lot of our lift operators. We actually had a few lift operators this past winter who started out as a lift operator and was transitioned to a full-time year-round position working in lift maintenance and stuff, you know. So a lot of our jobs can translate into full-time year-round positions. Even if it's not here at Brian Head itself, we are a part of a collective which is constantly hiring. When you think that we've got like 10 resorts or something, if you can't find a position at Brian Head, you can always go and look at our other resorts within our collective to see if there's a full-time position there.
You know, and I think that's an important point she brings out, that no matter what job you're in, you go in and you do it well, and you give it your all, and you're conscientious about what you're doing, and you want to do your best. You don't know what other positions they may have open that they're watching you for, or that may come open, and the first person that your boss thinks of is you. That may not be what you're looking at. You may not even know about it, but they'll give you the shot and say, hey, look, we got this great job coming on. We know you're a hard worker. We know you care about the company. Do you want to take a look at it? And I know in my experience, a lot of the jobs I've had were jobs that I really didn't even know about. But people are always watching.
Yep.
And when you're a good worker and you do your best and you're good with people, people notice. And it can set you up for a lot of good things. I mean, that's one point I'll probably harp on it every tape we do, every podcast, is that keep your eyes and your mind open to new things.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
We had this past winter, actually, kind of going off of that, we had an employee who was working in ski patrol, and we sat down just to like check in with him, and we've actually found out that he had like some degree in like financing and accounting, and we actually were hiring for a position in accounting. So he was able to transition, and we had this like trial period, and he worked out great in the department and became full-time year-round.
And he still gets to ski.
Yeah, he skis every day.
Well, and that's awesome because you're getting an employee that, okay, we know that you've been successful and you've done a good job in this other one. So it's less of a risk for you guys. And it's less of a risk for him because he's like, well, I've worked at Brian Head for however long. I know that I like the company. Like that kind of transition is so much nicer than the cold call interview trying to get in with a company that you've never spoken to before.
Yeah.
You know, another thing we haven't talked about is that Cedar's a small community. Outdoor Rec is a small community, and you may go and do really well, and there may not be an opening at Brian Head to take on, but you talk to other companies and other people, or else I might need that reference to get my dream job from somebody that knows me as a worker. And so these summer jobs, temp jobs, stepping stone jobs are also a way for you to kind of build that network that you have. They're a way for you to build references. They're a way for you to get somebody on your side that's going to help have your back when it comes to, I need to know if you're a good worker or not. And yes, I mean, I appreciate your mother, but what's she going to say bad about you? You know? And so to have an employer that can step in and say, hey, this person was great at this job. I wish we had something for them full time, but yeah, I would bank on them. I would hire them again if I had a position. And so that's something we really haven't touched on a whole lot. But to me, that's an important component of any of these part-time summer stepping stone positions, is building that professional network and your professional brand, your professional reputation, so that you can progress and move on and get those other jobs.
Well, some of like the most entertaining conversations or what I think would be a good professional conversation have been on a ski lift. It's not even just your coworkers or your boss, but it's like, how often do you just get to bring so many different people from different walks of life to one place? And you might be talking to a doctor one day and a neuroscientist on the next day. Like a ski resort especially is just kind of like this hodgepodge of people where you can really build that network in an effective way. I think we're getting close to wrapping up. I have some rapid fire questions for you. So just give me your thoughts on them.
Let's go.
Number one. Favorite part of working at a ski resort?
Definitely the free season pass. I get to go out skiing or snowboarding whenever I want, as long as my work is done.
Awesome. I'm new to Brian Head. I'm looking for something to eat. Where would you point me to?
Well, first off, I'm going to point you to our cafes at Brian Head. But if you're not interested in a regular like cafe foods like chicken tenders or burgers or something. Brian Head, the town itself, has Pisano's, which is a pizza and pasta place. We have a Mexican place. So
Awesome. One thing that you wish more students knew about seasonal work.
it's okay if this isn't what you want to do for the rest of your life. It's okay.
Awesome.
Bigfoot, real or not?
And have you seen him up at Brian Head?
Are you at liberty to say?
Is this gonna
I'm
be
not
the
at
new
liberty to
question
say.
Is
for
the black
everybody?
helicopter coming? Yes.
Maybe.
Maybe.
TBD. Okay.
Okay.
Cannot confirm.
Okay. If someone is on the fence about applying for a seasonal job, they're worried about that this might not be forever, what would you say to them, or what is your advice?
Just do it. Even if this is for any job really, even if you don't take the job, it doesn't hurt to apply. You don't know that what we have to offer, what we could have exactly what you're looking for, and you might not know it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Sierra, thank you so much for being on our podcast. We've really enjoyed spending the day with you, chatting a little bit about different things. T-Birds, I want to look at you right now and just remind you, seasonal jobs might be temporary, but the experience that you get is not. So,
Yes.
yeah. Do you want to plug Brian Head a little bit, let people know how to apply for jobs?
Yeah.
Anything like that?
Yeah, definitely. We are almost always hiring at Brian Head, so you can apply just on our website at brianhead.com. We have a careers page. And if you just have any questions about the industry or working at Brian Head, you can email us at hr@brianhead.com.
Perfect. Okay, well, thank you so much. T-Birds, be sure to tune in next week. We're going to have another great guest. Sierra, thank you so much.
Thank
Yeah.